remains to me one of these films that I'm very proud of.
I'm talking about a business proposition, Louis.
I was so excited to be in this movie. I couldn't see straight.
You're from a broken home, of course.
If we was broke, so what?
Last time I had fun making a movie was Trading Places.
Really?
It was not jokes. It was not jokes.
It's been work since then.
Motherfucker. Moi?
25 years later, people talking to you about a film is remarkable. Jeff Katzenberg sent me the script. It was called Black and White, and it had been developed, I think, for Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder.
I used to play tennis with these two elderly doctor brothers, and they fought, bitterly about everything, about points, about the tennis clothes they wore, and they were both quite wealthy men.
Tim used to say, there's something about those guys that I think we should incorporate into a story. We need to make them characters because they're very funny, they're very unique.
I had the idea of them arguing about nature, nurture, and them being sort of rather diabolical and willing to go to these lengths to win a dollar bet.
What they're going to do is somehow they're going to make this bet, and there's a black guy and a white guy, and they change their lives. They make the bet and they change places with them. But he said, I don't know what kind of work they do. I don't think they should be doctors, and I don't know the sort of details of it. And I've been reading this book about the commodities market.
Well, this is it, the last bastion of pure capitalism left on Earth.
We've never seen a movie about that's kind of set in that world. After that, then we kind of sat down and started to work out the story.
It was clearly The Prince and the Pauper, Mark Twain.
Are we talking about a wager, Randolph?
So a movie about a black guy and a white guy, the studios were very, what if we can't get Richard Pryor, then it's over.
There's a new sheriff in town.
48 Hours had just previewed, and Jeff Katzenberg said to me, what do you think of Eddie Murphy? And I went, who? And I met with Eddie. I talked to Walter Hill, the director of 48 Hours, and Walter said he's completely raw, but a great talent.
I was just happy to be in a movie. I was just happy to be in a film, and it wasn't like I had a bunch of offers. It was one script, and this was the movie we were going to do.
Eddie Murphy was involved because he had just done 48 Hours for Paramount. There was just nobody else that could have played that part as well as he did.
'Cause I'm a karate man, all right? Karate man bruised on the inside.
And Billy Ray Valentine is fairly close to the real Eddie Murphy at that time. It wasn't a stretch, and he was just full of life and funny. And some of the funniest things in the movies are just kind of improv stuff we did.
I'm Randolph Duke.
How you doing, Randy? What's happening?
My younger brother, Mortimer.
Hey, Monte, what's this? Billy Ray Valentine, Capricorn.
To have a star like Eddie, it made people very, very excited, and I was thrilled to be able to work with someone who I admired, and I knew that this was going to be the beginning of a great, long, and prosperous career.
Boy, are you two going to be sorry. Do you know who I am?
Yeah, Winthrop Lewis III.
The studio, truthfully, was not too keen on my cast. Dan Aykroyd had made a film called Dr. Detroit. John Belushi had died. Danny's single starring role, Dr. Detroit, tanked, and so the conventional wisdom was that he was over. I had to point out to everybody that Dan Aykroyd was a great actor and a great mind, and he's not over it.
Oh, yes, I'm sure a lot of people went belly up on that one.
Well, pretty well got him right away. I was born in Ottawa, Canada, and there was a guy next to us on our row house. He worked for the Department of External Affairs, and he sort of had that very correct kind of thing. It was an exaggerated version of Lewis, really. So I sort of took that and brought it down to that New England thing you see so much, and that Wall Street WASP, a Connecticut thing that you get in New York, George Plimpton kind of thing.
He was wearing my Harvard tie. Can you believe it? My Harvard tie. Like, oh, sure, he went to Harvard.
I loved working with him. I really felt just a wonderful, it shows in the movie. We really liked each other.
He had the courage to play Winthrop as an asshole. I mean, you know, what I like about his performance is he's an asshole at the beginning. He's the same asshole at the end. The difference is because of his experiences, his perceptions, but he's the same guy. I mean, he hasn't, you know, he's still got that stick up his ass, you know.
You're a prostitute.
The only criticism I would have of Trading Places' screenplay, but then again, pretend it's the 30s, you know, is the character of Ophelia is a complete fantasy. You know, this hooker with a heart of gold who looks like Jamie Lee Curtis and takes you in. I mean, this is men writing a script.
I've saved 42 grand and it's in T-bills earning interest. I figure I got 3 more years on my back. I'll have enough to retire on.
Rather than the hooker with a heart of gold, you see, since it was the 80s and it was that sort of era of greed, and we wanted a hooker with the mind of a financial investor. We thought that would be a really interesting new way to try to deal with that.
And so I needed someone who could bring that off. And I thought Jamie was unconventional enough and sexy enough and funny enough, she's smart and funny, that she could make it work. The studio was not happy with me.
There would be no way in the world I would have gotten this part. Not any chance in hell that I would have gotten this part.
Because she was a scream queen.
It was only because John Landis went, I know this girl's funny and I really think she'll be great. And it's all him. 100% John Landis.
I help you get yourself back on your feet and you pay me, in cash, 5 figures.
She brought the compassion, her heart of gold, her acting ability, her beauty in skin and in visage. The fact that she, you know, happens to have one of the greatest racks ever seen in Hollywood history, I guess complements all of that, and just is kind of a bonus feature for it all. But there was so much more substance to the character than that. But having that, you know, beautiful display to back up all her other assets and gifts just, I think, contributed to a perfectly, might I say, well-rounded performance.
By the way, food and rent are not the only things around here that cost money. You sleep on the couch.
Well, you know, obviously there was this whole element of me being a little unclothed a couple moments, which was a first for me and was very nerve-wracking.
Her nudity got such unbelievable response in terms of, it wasn't such a big deal. It's, you know, it's so brief, and it was like, it was interesting. It was like, you know, everyone in the theater sort of goes, hello, you know, everyone wakes up all of a sudden. And Steve Martin said to me, he said, I saw Trading Places. And I'm like, yeah? He said, I was like this. Jamie Lee Curtis, who knew? Thank you, Steve.
I suppose you think Winthorpe, say if he were to lose his job, would resort to holding up people on the streets?
No, I don't think just losing his job would be enough for Winthorpe. I think we'd have to heap a little more misfortune on those narrow shoulders.
John Landis was always a big fan and quite close to, he had known Ralph Bellamy and thought he'd be great for Randolph Duke. And we thought that the Mortimer Duke character would be best served by Ray Milland. Well, unfortunately, we could not get Ray insured.
So we were in a bind for the other Duke brother. And my whole thing was, well, who was a big star of the 30s and 40s and who had never played a villain? So I was thinking, Don Ameche. Don Ameche never played a villain.
With his genes, you can put Winthorpe anywhere and he's going to come out on top. Breeding, Randolph, same as in racehorses. It's in the blood.
We discussed the part. He had one issue, which is there's a scene toward the end when the Duke brothers, the Ralph Bellamy character, has a heart attack, falls to the floor, and Alfred Drake says, the head of the exchange says, your brother, and he says, fuck him, you know. And Don said, I don't think I could say that, the F word. I just don't think I could do that. I said, well, Mr. Ameche, it's vital, and you have to say it, or I can't hire you. So do you really think it's important? I said, yeah, and it's the character saying it, not Don Ameche. And we thought about it, and he finally said, okay.
We founded this exchange. It's ours. It belongs to us.
Oh, my God. Mortimer, your brother's not well. We better call an ambulance.
Fuck him.
And then months later, when we actually shot the scene in the World Trade Center, the Commodities Exchange, he asked the AD to get everyone's attention. There were like 300 extras, and he just announced, I have to say a profanity, and I would like everyone's cooperation, so I only have to do this once. And so then from then on, I mean, really from then on, every take I would say, don't fuck this up, Amici. And I could always get him to laugh. Don't fuck this up, Amici.
Turn those machines back on! Turn those machines back on!
The whole vibe of the set, when they were on set, was different because you don't mess around with these people. These people are serious about their work. They're incredibly good at it. And of course, they were thrilled to be in a kind of wild comedy that they got to be these outrageous characters. But boy, watching John Landis be around those men, because John loves movies and loves the history of movies and knew every movie these guys had made.
Jamie's quite right. I adored them. I wanted to just talk about, and then what did Cary Grant say, you know? What was it like on The Wolfman? I mean, these guys had just such extraordinary careers, and I was enamored of them probably, but I had no problem telling them that sucked, you know?
And a very good night to you, sir. What a scumbag.
Denham Elliott, when I cast Denham, they were like, you know, he's not funny, why not Benny Hill?
Denham Elliott, who played Coleman the butler, was a wonderful, wonderful British actor with that very dry, sarcastic, you know, sense of humor.
No dessert, sir. You have it. Thank you, sir.
Denham Elliott, a great English actor with that tradition of the British theater and British film. Having him there and having his presence there gave me something to step up to be able to share those scenes with him.
In charge of security is Mr. Clarence Beeks, head of Lyndhurst Security.
Clarence Beeks!
Clarence Beeks' character, it was a really wonderful villainous role.
I'll rip out your eyes and piss on your brain.
Clarence Beeks, the bad guy, someone had the idea of let's hire G. Gordon Liddy.
The character is really based on G. Gordon Liddy, who orchestrated the Watergate burglary. Went to jail, but never ratted anybody out.
We ended up with Paul Gleason. Paul was absolutely fantastic.
Bunch of fucking weirdos. We're gonna take a little walk. And don't try anything funny or the whore loses a kidney. Let's go.
There are moments I like very much. I mean, just silly stuff. I like silly. You know, like when they exchanged the briefcase on the train.
Who is it?
Open the door, man.
Just Abbott Costello stuff cracks me up, you know.
Windsor!
How delightful, though, to be able to play a drunk Santa. That was fairly simple. I just went with you got a beard, you got salmon, put them both together. It came fairly easily because I've been down and I've had my moments of inebriation. So.
Let me see now. You would be from Austria, am I right?
No, I am Inga from Sweden.
The part was written that she was a German girl, and I don't do accents particularly well. And I just remember saying, hey, John, you know, what do you want me to do here? He goes, what do you do? I was like, well, what do you mean? Well, like, what accent do you do? I was like, well, French, no, that's not going to work. And I said, I don't know, Swedish? He goes, great, make her a Swede.
And she was like, but how can I do that? I'm wearing lederhosen. Don't worry about it.
But you're wearing lederhosen.
Yeah, for sure, from Sweden.
It's silly.
I was outside for quite a bit in that cold rain, and I'm loving every minute of it, of course. I was so happy to be there playing that drowned cat scene on the street corner. I don't think I've done anything as rewarding since.
My all-time favorite thing in the whole movie is when Eddie's sitting at the bar and the guy comes up and goes, hey, you
the motherfucker I was gonna call.
And Eddie looks at him and goes,
Motherfucker?
Moi?
There it is. There's the movie right there. Motherfucker moi.
The head of the studio at that time and someone else were horrified when they saw the movie. They said, Danny's in blackface? There'll be riots across the country. That's ridiculous. That was one of the executives who was deeply appalled by a man being sexually molested by a gorilla. And I said, you know, it's a joke and it goes by very quickly. But the first preview was very successful and all went away. And everyone was a genius. So
the soundness of the movie itself, how it came across to the audience, and its pacing and the way it was cut and its quality just began to sell itself, and the word of mouth spread that this was something that was not to be missed. So we all got on for the ride on that one.
It was the biggest thing that ever happened to me. I was very much kind of this green person, just absorbing the whole experience.
that was a good experience. That was a fun movie to make.
You want some beef jerky?
Oh, please.
And the set was loose, and it was still like, wow, the movie business.
It's got a lot of heart. It's very, very funny. It's got a wonderful message that's beautifully sugar-coated by the terrific script. You know, it's just everything works in that movie. The score, you know, everything.
It was like a dream come true. It was a dream come true for me. And it remains that in my mind.
$1.
Thank you, Louis.
It's one of those rare Hollywood vehicles that have everybody behind the film. Everybody who worked on the movie kind of knew they were working on something special. From the extras to our traders on the floor to all of our crew, everyone was at the peak of their game.
Looking good, Billy Ray!
Feeling good, Louis.
Hi guys, did you know that Home Alone is not just any successful comedy movie, it was a record holder for nearly 30 years. Until the Chinese blockbuster Never Say Die was released in 2017, Home Alone was the highest grossing comedy film of all time, and it's definitely worth its title. Let us know what your favourite comedy film is. And also, remember to click below to subscribe on the side for more great content.